Hi guys, gals, it's Alex Davison with you today, and I know lots of you asked about benefits, you asked about income, you asked about the benefits which you could receive if anything goes wrong in Canada, what you could expect, what is the social payments, etc., in Canada. So what I tried to do, I tried to list all of them, as many as I could find, because lots of them would depend on a province or a territory where you live in. There are provincial benefits, there are federal benefits, and I will just try to go from A to Z for you, just to give you an idea what would happen and what Canada would do so that you would not hit the rock bottom if anything goes wrong. To start with, we all know that Canada is pretty much a social country compared to other southern neighbor. If something happens with your life, right? God forbid, you got a disabled family member, you got another child, which is wonderful, right? But it still would hit your budget. Canadian government would do everything possible to make sure that they would support you where it's, of course, humanly possible, to make sure that you will not be in their circumstances, okay? And everything would start with the welfare, of course. So if you come to Canada as a permanent resident and somehow magically you're not able to find a job, somehow you have spent almost everything you got, but still it's almost impossible, but you're not able to find a job, you're not able to find stable income for your family, you could expect to get welfare from the government. Welfare would depend highly on your personal circumstances, how much money you got, what are you doing in order to find a job, what is your spouse doing, etc., etc. So I'm just giving you an idea that, again, whenever you're coming, you know that usually you are required to bring enough money to sustain living of your family for at least 6 months. If after those 6 months something goes wrong, you could expect to receive welfare every 6 months. And under welfare, you're still allowed to have a car, you're still allowed to own a property, you're still allowed to have some personal savings. So it doesn't mean that you have to have zero in your bank account to ask for welfare. You would undergo the interview where you would be scrutinized and your personal circumstances would be analyzed, and then whatever you are entitled to would be paid to you every single month. Now I would read some of them, so excuse me here, I just try to memorize all of them by heart, but there are so many of those, so I will just list them one by one. Employment insurance, or rather I would say unemployment insurance. So if you're working in Canada, every single month when you receive your paycheck, you would see that X amount of money is deducted on employment insurance. That's the insurance pretty much the government collects to make sure that if for any circumstance you're losing a job, so you were laid off, the company has disappeared, you're not able to find another job, you would be paid X amount of money. So whenever we're talking about employment insurance, usually it could be paid from roughly, I would say, $530 per week. Typically, it would be up to 55% of your previous income. So again, it's not enough to sustain your living without a job, right? So do not expect it to be paid to you like ultimately till the end of your days, but that's something for you to help you out to pay your rent, to pay your insurance, etc., etc. So at least you would feel yourself more or less safe and secure. This employment insurance could be paid to you up to 52 weeks. There could be an employment insurance for entrepreneurs or for self-employed people. So if you were paying employment insurance deductions every single month, you could be entitled up to $500 every week as well if you're an entrepreneur or self-employed person. Now, payments for kids. So if you got kids, now let's start with the maternity leave, okay? Maternity leave, you could expect it to be up to, as far as I remember, 55 weeks, and up to 55% of your income could be compensated on maternity leave, up to the amount of $50,800. So everything above that would not be paid. So either 55% or 50,800 Canadian dollars. Other child benefits, so say Canada Child Benefit, you could receive non-taxable $160 per month for every child under 6 years old, and every child from 6 to 17, you could receive as far as I remember, $60. Canada Child Tax Benefit depends on the region and area where you live. Provincial benefits highly depend on where you live. Ontario could pay less, Quebec would pay more. Again, depends. Compassion care benefits, that's the benefits if you got a sick person in a family, you could receive about $530, $540 per week to help you sustain your living. Benefits for parents who are taking care of for sick kids. It's again pretty much the same amount, about $530, $540. If I'm not wrong, it's $537 maximum per week, which you could receive. Now, pension after one of the spouses passes away, and you could receive this pension, but it should be not more than $25,000 per year. For student benefits, so say if it's a student from a low-income family, student could receive about $250 per month, depending on where the family lives. If it's a student from a family with average income, and this income depends on the area where you live, this student could receive up to $100 per month. If it's a family where you got, say, children up to 12 years old, and this family consists of students, you could receive about $200 per month per child as well. Financial support for disabled students. So if, again, God forbid, you got a disabled student in a family, up to $8,000 per year is paid for such a student to compensate his or her studies. Now, this is very, very quick and rough idea of what you could get, just to give you heads up on the fact that Canada is, again, it's very, very social country. You will not hit a rock bottom in here. Whatever happens, the government would make sure that you would be supported, right? It's not because we're nice and lovely people. Yes, of course we are, but it's done just because everybody knows that if we help you out to survive this hard period of time, you would get back to social life pretty easier sooner than later, and you would be paying taxes. So welcome on board. This is our short video on Canadian benefits.